Two Large Ones, Volume 8. Series 8. Each series has one episode.
Jesus Christ. That's actually genius. I love that idea. Oh my god. Oh yeah, have you heard our podcast? We're already 8 seasons in.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Oh wow. That's actually spectacular. I love that idea so much. God, can you imagine because there's so much work that goes into like setting up a season on most like platforms.
Yeah.
But it would make it look like you have so much. At this point, we're basically BBC's Sherlock, right? Like 3 episodes, that's a season.
Yeah. I do find that funny when I was recommended Sherlock for the first time. Like the whole, there's only 2 seasons so far. I'm like, oh, okay, that's pretty cool. That's quite a lot to catch up on. No, not really. No. But they are like, movie length, right? So.
Yeah, I mean, they're like feature. They're like feature length.
Feature.
I mean, they're just really high quality as well. Like, they could probably just be movies.
The B movies.
They could just be movie, yeah. They could just be movie.
Oh, God.
You like jazz?
Oh, no. I'm not seeing any crossovers. Fuck that.
What? Sherlock and B movie?
Yeah.
I don't know. I could see one. Sherlock has to figure out the case of the missing honeycomb or something.
Oh, nice.
Turns out it was the queen bee all along.
Ooh. That's a good twist.
Under the orders of course, Moriarty, because why wouldn't it be?
B.
Yeah.
That's low effort, mate. I'm sorry.
That's the lowest effort joke we've ever had on the show, and I laughed at it as well. Oh dear.
Can't wait for season 9.
Jesus. Well, okay. Do we want to do your topic first, or should we do my topic first?
Let's go with yours first. Let's do yours first. Let's get it out of the way. Okay. Mine's quite light-hearted. It's quite an easy-going thing, so we can have a bit of premium, then we can dip down into the.
Yours will be the palate cleanser, because my topic is fresh off the press.
Oh, nice. Speaking of fresh, you want to hear a word from our sponsors?
Oh, all right then. This early, let's go. Must be that Primo sponsorship.
So I've had an email.
Uh-huh.
I've had an email from none other than Britney Spears.
Britney's back.
Britney's back. So I'll read the email.
Okay.
Dear Two Large Ones, loving the show.
Yep, makes sense.
Only at season 5, but really enjoying myself so far.
Yep.
My product is Juicy, available all year round, and it's yours. Take a bite. Love from Britney's. Oh, sorry, no, Britney's Pears. Sorry.
No, Britney's Pears.
Britney's Pears. I misread that. I'm sorry. I got so excited.
Geez. Yeah, I was super excited then. Britney's Pears. Thank you for sponsoring, I guess.
I guess.
I guess. I mean, pears are horrendous. I do not like pears at all.
Why not?
And this has really upset me.
Oh, I like pears. I quite like them.
Do you really?
I do.
What's wrong with you?
Well, mate, I've got weird taste in fruit.
Oh, go on.
Well, like vegetables as well. Like all of my, I'm like a pensioner. All of my vegetables and fruit needs to be like super mushy.
You like steam all of your vegetables. You're like, steamed potatoes.
Steam.
Steam.
I don't steam anything. I boil the hell out of it though, vegetable-wise.
I mean, it's basically the same deal, right?
One
is slower than the other.
That's true. But then the other, like with like I'll eat the banana that everyone looks at and goes, nope, that's fucked.
Yeah,
I'm that guy.
I mean, That's just because I know that you also enjoy eating trash, like out of a bin. Like that's one of your pastimes. You just go bin raiding, and you're like, oh mate, there's still half of a chicken on this carcass. What are you guys doing? You just start slurping the meat off, because at that point it just falls right off.
My old workmate Ryan used to call me, he like only for a week. He started calling me Foxy, right? Then he dropped
Right.
that because it was way too like endearing, and just started calling me Fox Stomach. And it,
Well, is that because you going through all the bins?
yeah, because I just eat so much shit. And the other thing is, we all went out for like a meal before, like literally the whole of work went out for a meal, and basically everyone was like wrecked after it,
Yeah.
and
Of
had
course, the classic work meal. Yeah.
the classic work meal. Like, no, I meant like everyone had like stomach issues. Sorry.
Oh.
I'm
I
sorry.
thought you meant like everyone was like, all right, yeah, let's just go out for a calm, collective evening out. Let's have a meal.
That's why
And then...
when you were like, oh yeah, the standard work night out, I was like, oh no. I hope not. So yeah, so I was the only one who basically didn't have any issues, and he was just like fucking hell, you got a stomach of a fox. What's going on? So
yeah,
so yeah, my taste in fruit is awful.
yeah, and pears
And then pears generally.
and pears just generally are garbage.
Do you like pear flavored things though?
No,
You not even
no,
pear
I don't.
flavor.
No, the flavor of a pear is horrendous, and
Oh,
I just like the flavor's terrible. They look like garbage. They're like
they
trying to
look.
be an apple. They're like trying to be an apple, but then they were like, oh, we got to be our own thing. All right, let's just add a little loop to the top of it. You know, like
Right.
let's just slightly elongate it for no reason.
It's like a failed apple.
Yeah, and like the texture of it as well. They can't decide
I
what they're
know.
really doing.
Yeah,
It's like
that's
you
the
look
thing
at
that
it
puts
outside
most
and then
people
it's
off.
furry or some shit, right?
Furry bears.
Yeah, well, the
I
ones
don't
I'm
know what
eating.
forums you're going on, mate. Jeez.
It's not like furry, but it's like, so you know how like apples are like, you know, they're shiny and they've got that very clear skin to them. You
Right.
know what I mean? Where it very much you drop water on it and it just rolls right off, sort of thing. Whereas pears don't have that. They're a little bit more, I want to say, almost matte. Right? An apple is a gloss finish and a pear is a matte finish.
I like that.
But you get what I mean.
I know,
right?
no, that perfectly describes it. That really does.
Yeah, they're just not nice. I
Yeah.
don't know why you would ever want them.
Oh well.
Like the only time I've ever had anything that was even slightly pear flavored was pear cider.
Right.
And
Okay.
even then, I was like, oh god, really? Like, I would rather be drinking the fucking 19 pence 3 litres of cider right now rather than this premium £5 for a thimble. Because it's just not good.
Well, you heard it here first. Brittany's pears available now.
Brittany's pears, buy them today.
Yeah. Available
them
from all
never.
good paint shops.
Buy 5, get a lacquer for free.
Mm. Yeah, you're available in your local B&Q. Just walk in, ask for a colour chart, and order your
I think
pears.
Halfords has them on sale at the moment. If you want to go pick up some pears.
Right, should we talk about your topic?
Yeah. Oh, jeez. I just realised we missed like a joke there where we could have said a pair of large ones or something.
Oh, that's
wow.
great. Well, that can be the episode title.
A pair of large ones.
Unless
No.
something more topical comes up.
Trust me, what I'm about to talk about is definitely going to be the title of of this episode. So, are you up to date with all of the, and there's no other way to say this, drama that is happening
Ooh.
in the Twitch scene right now due to the Twitch Safety Council that was recently nominated and created by Twitch?
I'm not. I didn't even know there was a safety council.
Well, until a couple days ago, there wasn't.
Right.
So essentially, I mean, feel free to do a little bit of quick perusing on the internet as I'm talking about it. But Twitch has introduced a Twitch Safety Advisory Council. This was on the 14th of May, so this was literally 2 days ago when we're recording this, right?
Yeah.
The idea behind this council is it's sort of a step between the general Twitch community and Twitch themselves, and it's supposed to be so. This council is supposed to help, underline, new policies, policy updates, promoting healthy streaming and work-life habits, protecting marginalized groups, and identifying trends that could impact Twitch, right? And so, I mean, in theory, it's actually a fantastic idea. And in all honesty, we did something very similar to this while I was at Bossa. We had, in fact, it was also called the Council for Worlds Adrift, right? And it was supposed to be a go-between between the community and the company, where sort of people can direct their thoughts and their overwhelming feelings to the council, and then the council can translate that into a slightly better, more cohesive way to the developers, right?
Okay.
So there's nothing wrong with that, and in fact, I actually really, really applaud them for taking that step, because the council is made up out of professionals who deal with things such as online harassment, cyberbullying.
Yeah, I'm just
These
on their
sort of
page
things.
for who's on the council.
Yeah. So it's got a lot of professionals on there, but what they've also done is they've taken several Twitch partners who are actively in the Twitch community and actively streaming.
Oh, you
Right?
know what? That's the page I'm on.
What's the page?
The one with the Twitch partners,
Right.
not the
Okay.
council members.
So yeah, there's several people on there, and basically these people are now they're basically endorsed by Twitch, right, as being the front runners for, hey, these are the people that we trust with this. This is who we want to be bringing problems forward and talking to us about, making sure that we're, representing all peoples in a fair and concise way. That sort of. However, now this is where the drama comes in. Okay.
Okay.
Since this was announced, one of the Twitch Council members has come under a lot of scrutiny and sort of flack and harassment from all sides regarding her opinions on certain topics. And now, I actually wanted to talk about her opinions a little bit, because for me, so here's the thing. There's basically, I've only actually seen two sides of this coin myself so far, right? And I think there's definitely a third side that we're missing here. Okay? So the two sides I've seen are either people straight up being like incredibly, I don't want to say combative, but overly direct, right? In their thoughts with her opinions, right? And being very sort of like, are you an idiot and stuff like this, right? And then the other side of it I've seen is people combating that and saying, well, the only reason you're thinking this is because you're toxic, and you're like, in some instances, think phrases such as like white supremacist and stuff like that has been used. And now, what I wanted to talk about is actually the fact that her opinions on the matter aren't actually, they're not insane, in all honesty. I know a lot of people have the opinion that, like, what she said is, it's ridiculous, you can't roll with it. But in all honesty, she hasn't said anything that is objectively incorrect.
You're gonna need to
Right?
be specific, I think, at this point, because you've given like a lot of context for
Exactly.
something.
So, I've given a lot of context, a lot of build up, because I wanted this to be a genuine discussion. I didn't want this to sort of be mired by any thoughts beforehand of like snap reactions, right? That's what I'm trying to avoid with this. So, She is ferociously Steph. She is on the Twitch Council. She was one of the first transgender streamers to be partnered on Twitch. She was also the first person to bring the transgender pride flag to the platform. And in her sort of fights for inclusivity, one of the things that she is actually against is in-game voice chat, right, for video games.
Okay.
Now, this opinion has sparked furious debate among a lot of people. And there's a lot of people who are just outright, saying, that's ridiculous, you can't think that, blah, 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 blah. But nobody is really giving it the time of thought to sort of digest why that's an opinion that's been formed or where that's coming from, right?
Sure.
So her thought process is, with mechanics such as voice chat, especially in a competitive scene, but more so just in general with gaming, voice chat gives a competitive advantage. That's a fact, right?
Yeah, that's true.
That is just a fact. Good communication between teammates in any game, whether it be a game where you are supposed to, where teamwork is essential, or games where it's not necessarily essential, but good teamwork will still make the difference, sort of thing. It's essential basically all the time, right? Good communication is key. And it is a competitive advantage being able to communicate in a concise manner with your teammates. Now, her point, which I think is a really interesting point actually, is that voice chat, to a degree, doesn't give the same opportunities to marginalized people with different sounding voices, right? So if you have a particular speech pattern, you talk a particular way, down to just down to anything really, right? But if you talk in a particular way, right, what her opinion is that it's sort of a lose-lose, in that you either talk and you become a target, right? Because people hear your voice and they begin harassing you, ridiculing you, or you just don't talk and then you don't have the advantages that other people do
Okay.
in the voice chat. Now, that is the root of what she is getting at. However, the problem comes from the way in which she is trying to deal with the situation, because it is her belief that mechanics such as voice chat shouldn't be allowed in video games, right? It should be removed in order to make it more inclusive for people.
Okay.
Now, this is where the point of friction comes from, right? So, just off the back of that, what are your thoughts?
That's a lot to digest for someone who's
really baked right now. Dude, I told you not to smoke that joint before we came on.
Wow. I'm like, bruh.
You're just like, bruh. I hear the bong rip in the background. You're just like, alright, yeah, give me a second to think about it. It's just...
I've got a soundboard.
I'm gonna edit that in. I'm just gonna edit in the sound of a bong rip before you actually say that.
You're gonna get taken down, mate. Taken down.
Excellent. Good. Mate.
As long as it doesn't come from the BBC, I think we're safe with copyright. Wow, yeah, that's quite a lot to take in.
It is. And that's why I sort of wanted to talk about that, because it is a very hot topic at the moment. There's a lot of emotions on both sides, and I think one of the core problems that maybe people on both sides are having right now are getting to the root of what is actually the problem, what is trying to be communicated. Is there a better way about going about it?
So my kind of initial thoughts are, as you said, usually when someone raises an issue, full stop, it doesn't matter what the issue is, it's coming from a place of experience. with whatever that is. Usually, I think you can kind of tell when it's not, just by getting them to kind of explain it further, and then realizing they just either talk themselves around in a loop, or they just don't have a clue what they're talking about.
Yeah.
Most people that ring up LBC, basically.
Wow, shots fired at LBC.
Yeah. Well, no, it's about 50-50, to be fair.
Yeah, man.
But like, yeah. So my assumption would be that she's had pretty bad voice chat experiences.
Yeah.
I mean, why wouldn't you hate something you've had a bad experience of, for a start?
Exactly.
That's fair. I think something else that's fair. I mean, she said, um, that it gives an advantage. I get that, but I also don't get that. My opinion on that is, if you're playing a game where everyone has access to voice chat, it's only a disadvantage if you're not using it. It's like a tool to help you and your team communicate better.
Yeah, but I think actually that is sort of her point. Actually, is that it becomes a lose-lose situation for these people who have, these possibly irregular speech patterns, right?
Right.
Because you either don't use it and you don't gain a competitive edge, right? Or you do use it and you open yourself, you especially more so than other people, open yourself up to being ridiculed, harassed, and targeted because of your speech patterns,
Yeah, no, I
right?
get that. I mean, generally speaking, most games that include voice chat are pretty toxic in their nature anyway. Like, competitive edge comes into it, egos come into it, and
Yeah.
I think the anonymous side of it as well. You're getting to hear someone, who, if they were standing in front of you, you wouldn't say anything. But I don't know. It's just like the disconnect kind of gives people an excuse to ridicule others who have like just different voices. It doesn't even need to be like a speech impediment, or like, the way people talk or anything. It can be like someone's accent. It's so simple. I mean, me and you have both played
Yeah.
games for years. We know how it can be in terms of just, like, there's like a screeching 12-year-old who comes on the chat, and the
Yeah.
first
And
thing you immediately want to do is just be
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
"Oh, shut up!"
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
But you don't. Well, you don't do it, do you? I mean, no. Yeah, most of the time, you don't do
Thanks for moving on before I got the chance to say anything. So it looks like I probably do, but you didn't want to bring it up. Oh my god. No,
it.
most of the time I don't. I can say that. I will be honest, there are occasions where I'm already at my frayed edges and everything.
Mm,
And I'm just like, dude, can you just shut the fuck up, sort of thing, right?
yeah.
And like, that's it. But I mean, if I'm already in that sort of mood, 9 times out of 10, I've already turned off voice chat or
Yeah,
muted
100%.
everything,
That's what I do.
because I do get, like, I'll be honest, I go into most games with voice chat turned off these days,
Yeah.
because I generally, most of the time, feel like being in voice chat, I feel like a lot of the time, the advantages I get from having voice chat turned on aren't really there unless I'm playing with people I know I can actually communicate with properly
True.
and coordinate with properly.
True.
Like, there is the opportunity, sure, for me to be able to meet randoms and be like, okay, you go left, go up the main, push, 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 or whatever, right?
Yeah.
But I tend to find my experiences are a lot of the time it's people who aren't really interested in properly coordinating. It's just people who want to be able to shout and scream, and a lot of people who also want to take charge as well. Whereas
Yeah. Yeah.
whereas I just want to be able to communicate and coordinate and be able to get whatever advantage there is to be gained there. But that generally doesn't happen.
No, of course. I think I don't know. Maybe most of the time, if you, I'm trying to think of the best way to kind of start this storytelling.
Okay.
Okay, so you're a kid. You're 12 years old. You're playing a video game.
Mhm.
We've played with like kids online as well,
I was a
and
kid online at one
yeah,
point.
exactly, yeah. And I think the difference between me and a 12-year-old is that 12-year-old will broadcast their voice,
Sorry, yeah.
um, like despite what anyone thinks, because they don't have
Yeah.
that insecurity yet. um,
They don't have that filter.
no, and I think that's kind of you kind of learn that in your adolescence to kind of be a bit more insecure, especially in the gaming community. You kind of dampen your own voice a bit. There's very few games where I would use the voice chat now if it's, as like you said, it wasn't with people I already like know
Yeah.
personally. It just doesn't really happen. Um, and
So,
I
I
don't.
mean, actually, I think your point is really good here because that sort of leads me into the next question. Okay, which is like, if that is the case, right? Let's assume that that is the case for a decent amount of people. Okay,
Yeah,
even though that we're just two individuals talking large ones right
yeah.
now.
And we are two white men, uh,
Yeah, yeah.
so
Right now
pretty
we,
privileged.
yeah. Well, what I'm hearing you say is that we're in the perfect place of power to make decisions on behalf of everyone else.
Wow,
So
that's the
I'm
most
kidding. That is
cis
a
white male
joke.
thing I've ever
That
heard in
is
my life.
that is a big
Jeez,
joke.
you're a big joke.
Okay, but yeah, I am. Um, but what I was trying to say is like it sort of leads me into the next question is like if people are like this, right, in that they would rather only be talking to friends and like voice chat isn't really that useful in other instances, is it that egregious to not want voice chat then in certain games, right? Like, or could you have bracketed versions where it's like one has voice chat, one doesn't have voice chat, you know?
Oh, what
Is
like?
that so egregious, sort of thing?
I don't think it's egregious. I mean, just turn it off if you don't want it. Like, you know, I just feel like you've already made up your own mind. If you're if you're saying that voice chat is bad and it puts you as a disadvantage, you're more than likely
Hmm.
not already using it anyway
Yeah.
because you hate it. So why would you use
Yep.
it? So just turn it off, and then you can't hear anyone's bullshit coming at you. You can't.
Yeah, but it's about then you're going up against potentially a team who is using it and is communicating, and because of it, they have that stronger, advantage, right? Because they have that level of communication there.
I know, but is that worth enjoying the game? My opinion would be every time I've turned it off, it has. Like I
No,
would
so
I
sorry.
would
What I meant was,
rather lose games consistently and enjoy myself than just sit there and kind of have this abuse shouted at me because I'm trying to play and just sit there getting saltier and saltier and like having a bad time basically.
so that wasn't quite what I meant. Sorry, that's my bad. What I meant more was, you know, it, the second that you go up against somebody else who doesn't have that voice chat, they've got an advantage over you because they can communicate with their teammates, right?
Yeah.
So, is it that horrible to think of a world in which you level the playing field by just removing voice chat for both teams, right?
Mm.
That was sort of more the question. Like, say you had your regular quick play, and then you had quick play no mics or something like that.
Yeah.
Quick play no voice chat or something like that. But actually, so here's the thing, right? So I don't think that that's too egregious of a sort of way of thinking, but more to the point, I think what it comes down to is you shouldn't be looking at removing other people's abilities. You should be finding a way to better represent your own, right? And now, what I mean by that is if you look at games such as Apex Legends or the new Call of Duty Battle Royale mode, okay, there are a lot of really, really quick and easy, fast to use, clear and concise ways of communicating in the game without using voice chat. That gives a lot of information to the same degree, if not actually slightly more, than a regular voice chat may give. So I think really what needs to happen to build that level of inclusivity there is to actually think about how do we translate more of that information that people could possibly give in voice chat um, into quick and easy ways that people could give them in game, right? So, have you actually played Apex Legends or the Battle Royale mode, or
No, I've still
have you?
not. But like, wouldn't
So,
wouldn't they, like say you're in an area and your teammates can't see you and you get killed,
mhm.
what's the standard kind of communication there? Um,
Well, I'm dead.
no, but you can't say that.
What do you mean? In what sense? What, as in, if you're not using the microphone?
Yeah, if you don't have voice chat, what's the standard kind of replacement?
So if you're not using the microphone, like, so this is what I'm saying. Like, this is something for game developers to think about, really, more than anything else. It's just about communication of information. So like with Apex Legends, for instance, you can ping a location, right? That's not really a new feature, but what you can do is this ping function has a lot of different functionality.
Yeah.
So actually, it is sort of similar to. Do you remember Portal 2, the co-op mode?
Oh yeah.
And you had the ping commands, right, for different things, right? And it was very
Yeah.
easy because one ping button would do a bunch of things depending on what you were looking at the time, right?
Yeah.
So it's sort of like that, except it's even more built upon in that you can look at, say, a gun, and you press the ping button, and your character will say, "I've got this gun here," and it even says like make and model, rarity, and all that appears on screen. If you see an enemy, you can ping it,
Yeah.
and a little icon appears and says "enemy over here," sort of thing, and if there's cash, if there's stuff like that. But then if you need something like a gun or ammo or something like that, you can press the button to sort of bring up your inventory, and then you can ping that icon in your inventory, and your character will say, "Oh, I need ammo," or "I need a better weapon," or "I need da 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 da."
Yeah.
So I think it's just about getting that communication in place that can actually replace voice chat to some degree, and making sure that any callouts that can happen through voice chat can happen through this new ping system, right? So the only things that would be hard to do is like plans, right?
Yeah.
Or strategies where it's like you go around there, wait for me to start shooting, then come around with an RPG and shoot, right? That's a much higher level of like communication there. But I don't think that's impossible to do, right? I think it just requires more creative thinking from the developers themselves.
But would that work in a game where there's both? Like, would you have to?
Yeah, yeah, I think
I
it
mean, like
would. And in
Overwatch
fact,
has both, right?
yeah, exactly. Overwatch has both. Literally, Apex Legends and Call of Duty both have both. Um, I think what it does is it does better to close the gap between them.
Yeah.
And I think you couldn't just remove voice chat is the big problem. That's where a lot of people, like as a whole, you can't just remove it from all games and say there we go, it's fair.
No.
Because at that point, there is always an argument to be made, and it was actually made the other day that it's like, okay, well, what about people who are like missing a finger, for instance? Do we just remove that button from everyone's controller because there are people who are like missing their index finger? Or to put it into like sports terms, it would be as if you've got 30 players on the pitch. Right? I actually don't know how many players are supposed to be on a pitch, right? But let's just say you got 30 players on the pitch, right? And one of them only has one leg and then a prosthetic. Okay,
Yeah.
it's like saying, right, everyone has to remove a leg and gain a prosthetic. rather than, okay, well, how do we make it so that that one person with the prosthetic
Yeah.
is still playing at the level of everyone else? Do you know
Yeah,
what I
yeah,
mean?
yeah, yeah.
Rather than bringing everyone else down, it should be about bringing those particular people up. And I think that is, in all honesty, the core of where this problem is coming from.
Yeah, like people need to have their privilege checked, basically. Like
Oh,
that's what
hang
it
on. What do you mean?
that's what it feels like. Well, if you're using that sports analogy, it's like, you know, as you said, like you need to bring people up who are disadvantaged as opposed to bringing people down who are already like they have the advantage type of thing.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
Well,
It's like basically sitting them people down, being like, you need to recognize your own privilege in this instance. You have an advantage over someone else, so it can't be abused. I knew it sounded better in my head, but you know what I mean. It's like
I think I do, but the way you've said it right now is basically the opposite of what I just said. Because what I just said was it's about bringing people up rather than bringing the masses down.
that's what I just
and then
said.
You've just no. What you just said was, yeah, you should talk to all the people who have the advantage over the disadvantage and tell them to check their privilege.
That is exactly correct.
What do you mean?
Well,
Wait, that doesn't sound like the same thing.
it is the same thing. You've got 30
Is it?
people
Yeah.
who have 2 legs. You've got one person
Who has one leg
who
and a prosthetic.
exactly.
Yep.
So you need to have a word with the 29 people who have the 2 legs and say, check your privilege. You need to recognize that someone else on this field doesn't have the same privilege as you and won't be playing to your standard. So they're going to have to
For what? Play worse.
play worse. Yeah, make sure you
Yeah,
play
no,
worse.
that's what I'm trying to get at. What are you saying here? What do you mean?
I don't know. I lost my train of thought about 20 minutes ago.
Because what I was more talking about is not talking down, but actually that's exactly the opposite of what I was talking about. Because you're talking about like talking to the 29
Oh, right.
and basically saying, "Look, you need to sort this out. You need to make this fair, right?" Whereas it shouldn't be about bringing the 29 down to the level of the 1. It should be about bringing the 1 up to the level of the 29.
So you want to sit the one person down and say, right, you need to up your game. You need to sort your shit out. Because no one...
Yes, but not in that way. It's like, okay, what can we do to make it fair so that you have more of an advantage?
Yeah.
Like, not sit there and be like, listen, mate, I know you've got one leg, but fucking hell, that save was garbage. Could you maybe get it together, right? Like, it's more about, okay, cool, we recognize you only have one leg, right? So how do we make this better? What do we give you, like, a better prosthetic leg? Do we, make it so that the pitch is made out of a different material to help you move around? Do we, it's not about bringing the other 29 people down. It's about elevating that one person up. I've said that like 3 or 4 times now, but I don't know if I'm making sense. Does that make sense?
So you want to round people up and shoot them? What is wrong with you?
Fucking hell.
What's going on?
With that, thank you to Britney Spears for sponsoring
Britney Spears.
Britney Spears. The best bowling term there is.
To go back to a kind of note. No, I don't want to.
Before
you
went full fascist.
Before, yeah, I think I got confused, and then I got more confused, and then yeah, I think that was my bad. So it must be the bong. Oh, there it is. Yeah. You can hear it in the background.
God damn, those rips are huge.
Yep, it's surprising I managed to be talking whilst taking
smell it down the mic.
Taking so many hits,
dank.
It's ridiculous.
Write a comment if you can smell it at home.
Right. So, no voice chat. You no voice chat.
Okay. Yeah.
You've heard of the game called Journey, right?
Yeah.
So, this
Yeah.
was something that the developers were looking to do when they were making the game. This is an exact issue that they looked at. How can we make communication inclusive? Because that
Hmm.
doesn't exist at the moment.
Yeah.
Even down to they considered when you can see someone's gamer tag, you form an opinion about that person.
Immediately. Yeah.
So are they young? Are they old? Are they male, female? Are they offensive? Are they etc. 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 So
Hmm.
in in Journey, you don't have communication in the standard way, and you don't have gamer tags at all.
Yeah.
So it makes it completely inclusive. Both players are identical, and actually, when I was playing it, um, there's like I'm trying not to give anything away because Journey's an amazing game, and I would recommend it. It's basically like playing a film or playing a book. Um,
Ah.
but there's a bit where you have to sit down with another player, and I think maybe 4 times I forgot if I was the one on the left or the right,
Yeah.
and it just made it even more immersive. I was like, whoa, that's so cool because I'm I might as well be the other person. I don't know who I'm playing with, so they may as well just
Hmm.
be me for the most part.
Right.
But yeah, I'd recommend like I'm gonna link to a talk I heard from the developers. I'll timestamp it as well so that it
Yep.
starts at that exact bit. But yeah, it's I thought that was like a super unique way of doing it. Obviously, that's not going to translate to every game is the problem. Um, but it's one of the few games I've heard which have actually done it correctly. So
Okay. Okay. That's. Yeah, that's really interesting. I'd be really interested to see that actually.
yeah.
Yeah. So you didn't want to make any sort of remark regarding where you left it off before we went into Britney Spears, or
No, no, no. I think I'm done with that bit. I think I think
all
I
right.
turned the emotion up to 11
Yeah.
and the sense
The
down
brain down
to
to zero.
yeah. You turn your brain off and you turn your emotion up, and that's what you get. So
Yep. Nice, bud. Nice. Nice.
yeah.
All right. But yeah, I mean, but here's the thing. So we've been talking a lot about that sort of messaging, and like
Mm.
that isn't the only thing that she's being targeted for, unfortunately. Like, she's quite an eccentric person, and she also identifies on some level as a deer,
Okay.
and she streamed herself like getting scritches from her partner, sort of thing, and her
Ah, the
being in that
scritches.
sort of the mindset of being a deer. And unfortunately, things like that have then compounded with this opinion. So it's literally like
Ah,
that
right.
has compounded because of people just being arseholes, essentially.
Well, yeah. I
Um,
mean, you're
yeah,
into
yeah,
what you're
that's
into.
compounded with it. And then her responses as well have been somewhat purposely inflammatory as well.
Okay.
Um, so basically, I mean, she's been purposely inflammatory to the people who have been hating on her to a degree. But at the same time, it's like if you're receiving hate,
Yeah.
there's one of few ways you can handle it,
It's
and
hard to
being
keep a
in
cool head when you're being shouted
it
at by
is
a full barrage of. Well, I mean,
of
she's on
dickheads.
the council for God's sake, and Twitch is such a large community.
Yeah,
That's a lot of
exactly.
pressure. I wouldn't blame anyone for like
That's a
losing the plot,
lot
really.
of people. Yeah.
Um,
And I mean, the thing is, as well, is that it's not been mental, like, yeah, you're all a bunch of fucking cocks, or anything like this, right? It's like, it's been a sort of very calm, but still purposely inflammatory comments, such as, like, yeah, I'm on the council, and there's nothing you can do about these sort of comments.
Yeah.
Which, whilst it's just like, okay, that's pretty fucking funny.
Yeah.
At the same time, it doesn't do anything to de-escalate, unfortunately.
No. And I think fundamentally, I think when you're on a council as well, you apologies to the background noise there. When you're on the council or a
Did you knock
council,
the bong over?
I knocked my bong over here.
Oh,
God
fuck.
damn it! There's water everywhere, and
Oh no.
God's sake, gonna have to pick this up later. I've been due to COVID-19, I've been filling my bong with antibacterial hand gel.
Oh, nice. The old anti-back rip.
Yeah,
Nice.
the anti-back grip. Actually, it kind of
Yeah.
I might try it with bleach though. I heard Trump say that was a good thing to get that into your system. So
It's all right, but in all honesty, mate, TCP or Dettol every day. That's the one, mate. That's the one.
yeah, forget
bud.
THC, mate. TCP is what you want.
Actually, TCP smells so nice.
It does, yeah. It's good.
But sorry,
Yeah.
after you knocked over your bong.
Yeah, after a knock. So, I mean, she's perfect for a council. Why would you want 10, 12, 100 of the same person?
Yeah.
Name me someone else on that council who has had the same lifestyle as her, is into the same things, likes getting scritches, identifies partly as a deer. You know, you need people like that because they give opinions like, I think voice chat should be banned. That's good to have so many different opinions around a table.
Yeah. And
Instead of just everyone going, yeah, okay.
That is genuinely a really good point, because that is a very bold opinion. Okay, there's no other way to say it. It's a very bold opinion in this climate of community, right? But that sort of opinion then opens up avenues for new trains of thought, right? Like we've discussed today, right? Is the issue that we need to remove it, or is it that we need to just find better ways of it being inclusive? And by having that thought there, we can find new ways to move forward. Even if it's not a thought that you agree with, by thinking about that thought, you find new paths that you may never have thought about.
Yeah. It sounds to me like she is of a generation of gamers, people who are very familiar with online games, how they work, how they play. And the last time I've seen any kind of community respond to something like that viscerally, is when older generations just blanket term games in general. I think we should ban shooting games, for example. Like first-person shooters should be banned.
Shooting.
Yeah.
They cause shooting.
And it feels like the same reaction is of this, because it's coming from the inside. Someone who's of the community has a controversial opinion about something that people think is like protected by them. And they're just being like, whoa, hang on a minute. That's the same as like someone saying ban games in general to me. It's like the same weight.
Yeah, it feels almost like an attack on something that you really like, right?
Yeah.
By just how polar opposite that opinion is. And now it's okay. Like, here's the thing: I'm never gonna tell people you can't have snap reactions, because snap reactions are what make us human, right? Your immediate gut instinct, your immediate thought process is what makes you who you are. But the problem is that what you need to do is you then need to bring a level of critical thinking to that, right? And you need to actually resolve that thought back to its core. Why do you think that way? Why do they think that way? What is to be gleaned from both sides? And actually, is there something here that maybe you're both missing that this conversation could conclude to?
Yeah.
I think it's a really interesting topic. In all honesty, I've tried to have this conversation with a couple of other people, and a lot of people didn't even want to even discuss the idea that actually there may be some amount of weight or merit behind what was being said. Not necessarily in the concept that voice chat needs to be removed, but there is definitely an underlying problem there that needs to be addressed.
Yeah,
right?
of course.
And it's I just find it incredibly interesting that, like, some people can just sort of dismiss it so heavily, and then really double down and get to a point where they just sort of attack it or dismiss it by, like, passively attacking it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, oh, she's insane. Oh, that's crazy.
Yeah.
Right? That's not fair at all. I don't think.
I think
And that is what I wanted to get out of this conversation, in all honesty, and that's why I brought it forward, because I wanted there to be a fair conversation about it, and not just a case of this is nuts, they're all white supremacists,
Yeah.
they're all Nazis or whatever. I just wanted there to be an actual conversation.
I think
that feels like something that's missing.
The one thing that disappoints me more than anything about when stuff like this happens is I can't remember. I can't remember who I was talking to about this recently. It was the same point for a different subculture, but
Yeah.
the principles are the same. The gaming subculture have worked so hard to fight criticism from other generations, from the media, from press, from other people, from like societal norms, etc., 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 etc. Why is there so much bullshit within the community? Like, it just doesn't make any sense to me. Why you wouldn't hear someone out in the same community as you?
Yeah.
Because you're all part of the same thing.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm trying to give like another kind of thing. But say there's another council, right? The city council, and you've got differing opinions on the city council, and someone says, they all represent the same area, they all live in the same place, they're all trying to make their community and city a better place, and someone comes out with a controversial opinion of, I think,
ban streetlights.
Yeah, ban streetlights, or get rid of cycling lanes, right?
Oh.
Okay. There's no way in that council meeting people go, no, next. They go, okay, why have you said that? Like, give me some background, explain that a bit. Like, we're all sensible people here.
So I think the problem really lies in that, like, the council itself does that, but then, if you then hear the general public, right? Say that council meeting got out, it's the general public, and then, you've got fucking The Sun and the Daily Telegraph, like, this controversial person wants to remove cycling lanes.
Yeah.
Laugh at them, look at them and laugh. Page 3 tits. Like, that's basically...
Yeah. Laugh at someone you disagree with, but not before you've had a wank.
Remember, read The Sun in public.
They don't do. Yeah, what's that about power move? Fuck off. I don't want your page 3 on my bus. They don't actually do page 3 anymore, I don't think.
No, they don't. Because I think it was a feminist movement actually that stopped it from being a thing. That was the last that I heard about it, was that there was like a feminist movement, and eventually it actually stopped that from being a particular thing.
Yeah.
Which, I'll be honest, I'm kind of glad.
Oh yeah.
Like, it's just weird opening up a newspaper to be like, oh, what's happening in the world today? Oh, fucking, Kylie, 23, has got her tits on display on the first page. Excellent.
She thinks that the economic variety is diminishing over the...
That's exactly what it is as well. Yeah. That is exactly what it is.
So
I can see you're a Sun man.
So the last time I really remember page 3 being a thing was when I was at school, right? There was a guy who used to buy the Sun every morning on the bus. It was the bus home, I think. I don't think it was in the morning. And he bought the Sun, waited at the thing, went upstairs, sat in the same seat every day, and the second he opened to page 3, everyone went, "Way!" And you could tell he was like, "Oh, shut the fuck up."
Oh my god, nice.
Good times.
But I mean, that's the equivalent right there. Again, it's like the council might listen, but it's the general public and the general outcry. But that comes from, I feel like, a place of like not understanding and a place of ignorance.
Yeah, yeah. The lack of willing to even hear someone out as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
What are you doing? Have you ever had an opinion where, like, that doesn't make any sense? Like, I can't believe you've never had an opinion which someone has disagreed with.
Yeah.
So,
And you've never wanted to learn.
yeah, and you've never wanted to express why you feel that way to someone. Just
Yeah.
fucking listen to someone. God damn it.
Well, I think the problem is a lot of people will express how they feel, but they won't listen to how others feel. You know,
Yeah,
that is
yeah,
the
yeah.
big problem. That's the disconnect. Is a lot of people are speakers and not enough listeners.
Yeah, that's true.
But you know, I
Speak
sort of
less,
hope.
listen more.
Yeah. I sort of hope that things to a degree solve itself for her. Like I think potentially she may need to do a couple of de-escalation techniques, or maybe fly under the radar a little bit, because quite frankly, it's getting to the point where it's just becoming a witch hunt.
Yeah, yeah.
And whilst you might have an opinion as to whether or not it's justified, quote unquote, yeah, I hate to see it happen on either side. Right?
Yeah.
It doesn't matter whether or not you agree with somebody or you don't agree with someone. Don't burn them at the fucking stake.
No,
Right?
for sure.
Discourse is the only true way to affect change. But yeah, I really hope that happens. But that was my large one. We are 56 minutes in. What's your large one? What's your light-hearted large one?
So let's spend the next 10 to 15 minutes cooling down.
Yeah, I'm cool. I'm chill.
Talking about biscuits.
Very nice. We're about to get very heated.
Yeah. Pears are anything to go by.
Fucking idiot.
You want to round up all the biscuits and shoot them? What are you talking about?
You can't even say that about biscuits, mate.
Yeah, please don't cut that clip out and replace it with whatever horrible thing you need. I'd appreciate that. Yeah, I wanted to talk about biscuits. So I bought, for the first time in a long time, the other day, a pack of Maryland cookies. And
very nice.
I'd not had them in a while. And it just,
which ones?
Just the OG, the
red ones.
Yeah, just the red
packet, the standard chocolate chip.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I was just like, God damn! Like, do they make a better cookie than this? Question mark.
Yes.
Over to you.
Yes, they do. By a mile. Don't get me wrong.
And thanks for joining us.
Yeah, and that is the end. No, so I mean, yeah, I it depends on if we're talking just like biscuits, or if we're talking like chocky bickies, or like, you know, what are we talking about here? How are we defining?
Let's stick to cookie for now. Cookies. Just a cookie.
Just cookies.
Yeah. Like an English cookie, not like an American cookie. I think they're slightly different.
No, they're not.
Yeah.
An English cookie is no different to an American cookie.
I think it is. They would call.
Think so.
Yeah, they would.
What we call what are English cookies, in quote unquote, we sometimes still call biscuits.
Oh, that's true. So, yeah.
Like, an English cookie is the same as an American cookie. It's just that not all biscuits are American cookies.
Ah, I see. Ah.
Yeah. But in terms of like cookies, there was one, and for the life of me, I can't remember. But you will know exactly what I'm talking about, right? They came in like a pack of 8.
Oh.
They were massive.
Foxes.
They were chocolate chip, and one half was just chocolate.
Yeah, Foxes. Oh, what are they fucking called? I know. Yeah, the second you said it.
You're so serious. The second I started describing them, you're like, Foxes. Dipped.
Oh, duped. They're just called Fox's Chunky Cookies. Warning, extremely chocolatey.
There we go. Boom. That's the one.
We're gonna have to put a trigger warning on this podcast
that's
now.
the one, mate. Why is that?
It's extremely chocolatey, mate.
Yeah, mate. That's what I want.
They're not fucking around.
No, they don't. Honestly, I remember like those cookies are so goddamn good. So goddamn good. They are they are genuinely better than even the fresh ones that you get from like Subway. And those ones, when they're like slightly soft and crispy, are boom. But these chocolatey, extremely chocolatey,
thanks.
right? Dipped Fox's cookies are so good. Like you, if you've not had one, okay, everyone who's listening right now, there is an Amazon link below. Buy one, buy a pack, eat them, and then tell me that they are the best, because I'm not wrong. It's a fact.
It's a fact. I will admit though, those Subway cookies, when you get them when they're like still warm, they kind of remind me of like school cookies. You know, when you got in the morning and
no.
Not your school. I forgot
Not
you.
my school, mate.
Yeah.
My school's cookies were so grim that I had to put ketchup on them for them to be fucking edible.
That is just not right, mate.
I would buy a cookie for 15p and a sachet of ketchup for 5 and be like, sorted, breakfast is done.
You're like, why do I buy a cookie when I can get 3 sachets of ketchup for the price of that?
Yeah, just eat them sachet and all.
Oh, so yeah, get your money's worth.
Yeah, mate. I was doing the Tide Pod challenge back in the day, but with ketchup.
I used to, I do remember doing that in school, like picking up sachets of ketchup with like sweets just to weird out the canteen ladies.
Yeah.
That's yeah, and it's like, oh, good. So 5p joke, yeah. Good for you, mate.
Yeah.
You could have saved that up and bought yourself.
Could have gone to a housemate.
Yeah. That's why millennials are suffering right now on the house markets, because you spent all your money on joke packets of ketchup in school, didn't you?
Can't afford a diamond. Stop buying ketchup.
Stop buying 5p sachets of ketchup.
That's the sort of thing I'd expect to read in like Forbes.
Yeah.
Just like, millennials can't afford diamonds because they spent 5p back at school. Find out why here.
Find out why.
Yeah, it's absolute horrendous.
And it'll be a case study of like this investor who just was like, oh, you know what, I'll put 5p on this one stock, and then all of a sudden it like skyrocketed.
It'll be
views are incredibly narrow based on one person.
Yeah. Oh, I was gonna say it'd be like the quote he would have is like, well, when I was in year 7, I realised that I could either put ketchup on my hot dog for 5p, or I could save up for it. I saved up that 5p every day until year 11, and I put that into the stock market and was able to buy myself a Bitcoin, which then turned into £32,000, which I then got reinvested into the rest of the stock market. I now own London. like some absolute garbage like that.
So, not quite the same, but slightly similar. In Lidl, they used to sell 24 like cans of Pepsi, right, for 24p each.
Right.
So in total, it was about £6 if we round it up. £6 for a pallet of 24 cans of Pepsi. Right. My friend, when the 3DS came out, it was either the 3DS or the DS, whatever one came out in 2008 or 9. He used to go to Lidl every night, buy an entire thing, fill his bag up, and sell them for £1 a can each around the school.
Nice.
And he used to make £24 a day. And obviously, like, most people would continue that forever until they get, like, caught out or whatever. But he just wanted the DS, basically. And then he bought the DS when it came out, like the super, I can't remember what it's called. I was about to call it the Tonk edition there. The
Tonk edition. Yes, mate.
Why not?
That's how Nintendo did it. It was like you had the light edition and then the Tonk edition.
Do you want the Stronk or the Tonk edition?
Mate, I'm taking the Tonk one. You know.
I'm gonna look up the time dates for DS because I cannot remember when it came out. 2004 was the DS. The 3DS came out in 2000 and later than that. That's some good quick
Quick math.
wiki
Oh.
wait, what
I
was it
thought you were
then?
doing a full man's not hot sort of thing.
Well, it came 3DS came out in 2011.
Yeah, it came out ages ago.
The DS came out in 2004 when I started school. So
Yeah, regular DS.
it was something. I knew it was Nintendo. I know that much. Maybe it was like a limited one they put out or whatever. But
so the original one came out 2004, but then the light one came out like a year later. And then they had the
XL.
they had
No,
like
that was the 3DS.
they had a different version of the DS as well, I think.
Yeah.
That came out like a year after that. And then the next leap was the 3DS. Then it was the 3DS XL, and then it was the 2DS.
Yeah. Oh right. It may have been the light actually, because I'm looking at the dates here. It's 2006. That seems about right. So that's pretty cool. But yeah, that's I mean that's quite similar to putting your money into Bitcoin from ketchup packets. That sounds like a TED talk, doesn't it? From ketchup to Bitcoin or something. Now, what does that title mean? I'm going to tell you.
Basically. Yeah. Oh my god, dude.
Hands up if you've ever had or seen or heard of or know someone who has tasted ketchup. No one.
Everyone. No. Literally no one.
No one.
Oh my god. Everyone's just there like, what's ketchup?
Yeah. Wow, tough crowd. Okay.
Well,
keep your hands up.
Who,
keep your hands up if you've ever tasted Bitcoin.
Yeah, everyone puts their hand up.
Yeah.
It's literally just a seminar for millionaires. They're all already millionaires, and they're just there to make themselves feel good about themselves.
There is a legit TED talk called I traded. What if I could tell you traded like a paperclip for a house or something like that? And that is legit what happened. This guy.
Yeah. I think I know about this. Wasn't this the dude who he kept on just trading small things for slightly bigger things over and over and over again?
Yeah.
He wound up with like a Ferrari at one point or something.
I think he did. Yeah.
That away. Yeah. I know this story and this dude. Yeah. See if you can find a link to Bung down below. That'd be wicked.
Oh, for sure, definitely will.
People. So are we just talking cookies then, or are we talking other biscuits as well?
I think. I think we solved it, didn't we? Fox's extremely chocolatey.
There is, in my mind, a contender, but if we open it up to Chocky Bickies as well.
Ooh. Okay. Far away.
Gold.
Solid gold. Gold bars are amazing.
Gold bars are so goddamn delicious, dude.
So good.
It's the chocolate. It's the actual chocolate. I don't know what it's made of or how they make it, but I've never tasted chocolate that tastes like that.
Yeah.
And it just tastes really good, and it's incredibly moreish.
It really is. You know those like packets of things you can buy where you're just like, yeah, I'm going to eat all of these and don't care. Gold bars are top on that list, I think. Jaffa cakes are very close behind it. Although with Jaffa cakes, I have to like take a break because they're slightly drier.
Yeah, they're dry.
Yeah, they're dry. I mean, gold bars are quite dry, but I mean they're also just top tier. So
very true. They're a lot cheaper than the other one as well. You get more for them. So
yeah, as building material, you want the cheapest you can find.
Yeah, absolute. Always. I mean, I can't say that. So I think one final word from our sponsor, and I think that's a good place to wrap up.
Yeah, Britney Spears. There you go. That will do, isn't it? Britney Spears.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh, is that it? Is that what we're saying about them? British pears. Buy them.
Yeah. Do or don't. Basically, if you're into pears, Brittany's got you covered.
Couldn't care less about the sponsorship. Don't buy them. I don't give a shit. Buy them and then bin them. I don't care. Steal them, then build them. Steal them, then bin them.
Wow. Yeah, I mean, choice up to you. They're moist, delicious, available all year round. Come and take a bite. That's what it says in the email. Yeah. Thanks for.
We personally think that you should steal them, compost them, and then grow apple trees. And
Wow.
That's the way to do it.
Yeah.
Brittany's apples coming soon.
Brittany's apples, yeah. Brittany's pears are marginally improved with the taste of ketchup.
Buy a sachet now.
Brittany's ketchup, available now. Thanks for joining. Thanks for tuning in. Season 9 coming soon.
Season 9 confirmed.
This is episode 8, isn't it? I'm not making that up.
Yeah, you're right. Episode 8, yeah.
Because it just goes by so quick, I mean, episode 8. That's 2 whole months.
Mm-hmm.
That's
2
mad.
whole months. And we started this because of quarantine as well. So
because of lockdown,
this is a good way to keep track of the time.
That is true. Yeah.
Yeah, we have done 8 whole seasons. Locked up at home. And helps.
So no, please.
Yeah.
The pears are just not providing enough substance for us.
It's just not enough.
Right, take care, everyone. See you next week. Have fun. I've been Craig. He's been Vince.
Bye.
Oh, we've been 2 large ones.
Bye.
Bye. Goodbye.
Bye.
Oh, I'm sorry. Goodbye.